going to do a live tonight, 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, but this morning I'm actually in the mood to talk about Harry, and I like to try and capture maybe the Australian audience later in the day and the UK audience or the American audience in the morning. So here we are. It's 6:27 a.m. Sydney time. Now, this morning I want to talk about Prince Harry because his his absence has really raised a lot of questions. Some royalists are losing their minds because the media is still longing for the days of the cheeky chappy Harry, and a lot of it's driven by fandom. And I actually am not going to take a lot of time. This live will only be about 15 minutes to discuss why I'm not actually bothered by this. Not at all, because I'm a constitutional monarchist. I uphold and support the Crown, and any decisions I make around my preference for this court or that court, the Wales court or the King's court or the Sussex court or Anne's or the York, it all has to revolve around, hi Stedman, how are you? I'm here today to just share a few of my thoughts on what's going on online in relation to Harry's absence, because a lot of royalists are losing their minds over it. You know, they feel like the palace is doing a snow job on them. And the media, are they're trying to use it as a wedge issue between the Sussex household and the Wales household. And I don't, Paul, hi. Oh my gosh, I've really got, wow, couple of people that I really respect and admire the opinions, Stedman and Paul. Woo, boys and girls. So I'm not going to be on long. I just want to be on for about 15 minutes and explain why I'm not taken in by this whole, the palace is doing a snow job, etc., because there are a few things we need to take into account as royalists. And as I pointed out in my introduction, I've got points here so that I don't miss any of them, because this is really important. I am a constitutional monarchist. I uphold the Crown, and everything, all my other preferences, everything, my opinions, I've got my favorites, like us all. I've got those that I dislike intensely. And but we have to really you've got to really be congruent with what you believe in. And I cannot say, because I'm hearing some royal supporters say, if Harry is brought back, and I don't blame them, so bear with me for one moment. I don't blame this. I don't blame this response to what feels like a snow job. But hi. Oh, Sam. Hi, how are you? I'm only going to be on for 15 minutes, so bear with me. But the thing is, we're dealing with a constitutional monarchy, we're dealing with a family, we're dealing with public opinion, and we're dealing with a media that is always going to use this issue with Harry as a wedge issue with the monarchy, and particularly against Catherine, William, and Prince George. And I think that we need to, cooler heads always prevail. I'm the granny in the room today, speaking, words of wisdom, just dispensing pearls of wisdom. Bear with me. You guys know what I'm like. I just don't take myself too seriously. But I take this very seriously, because at the heart of it, I'm reading a book at the moment, Crown and Country. Okay? Crown and Country. It's by David Starkey. A history of England through monarchy. This drives everything for me, because I was involved not directly, but I worked for a politician who was part of the push for the referenda in 1999. And so I've been very engaged with this issue since then. But I've realized since the royal tour, the British media, oh my God, everything they say about the British media is true. They just wouldn't shut up about, Australians were not bothered by this because this Republic issue was not an issue. The numbers that, they had their little banner, God bless their lovely hearts. These Republicans came out with their banner and, come on, let's get out there. And there was like about 20 of them, and yet the British media couldn't stop egging this up. They just really over-egged the pudding for me. But where am I going with this? This is what I believe is happening with Harry. I believe that, look, if he were in rehab, we'd know about it. So forget it. Just let's go through a process of elimination here. Harry is like his wife, just has to, puff himself up. If he were in rehab, he'd be saying, oh, I'm in rehab, bear with me while I bare my soul. He would be doing this, but he's not. We're not hearing anything. And I've got a theory, and it's only a theory, but it's based on a couple of things that something Eric Trump said and also something that another reporter said. So I've got a theory, but I'll get to that. So we have to really stop and think. I'm just like, stop losing your minds. I'm not mean you. I mean, these royal fans are losing their minds over this, because they think that Harry is going to be taken into the palace unconditionally. I don't believe that. I don't believe they can afford to do that. And here's why. The monarchy, everything has to bow down to the future of the monarchy. Everything is subservient to the future and upholding of the monarchy. And even Prince Philip knew that. Their lives were turned upside down when the Queen was unexpectedly coronated as the Queen. But Prince Philip knew everything had to uphold the monarchy. So I don't believe there's going to be an unconditional rapprochement. I don't. I just do not. But we need to remember this is a family. And I've lost a son to drugs. I've lost two boys, one of them to drugs. The youngest of the two was 19. Just bear with me while I point this out. I'm not an expert. I don't work in the mental health field, and I don't work in any of these fields because I can't deal with people who are on the edge. In that, I have volunteer activities in other areas, but not in these areas. It's too much for me. But I lost a son. He was 35. His younger brother, and they were just, oh my God, those two boys were so close. But when his brother got acute bacterial endocarditis, and he was 19, and they could have been twins. Well, they were 11 months apart, but he never got over it, and he sunk further and further into drug abuse. And I prayed during those times, God, if I lose this boy, please let it not be on the street. Just don't let it be in the gutter. And by the grace of God, it was in someone else's place, in someone's bed. But there's only 3 outcomes for drug addicts. It's rehab. Now, we're not hearing anything about Harry. He'd be bragging. He'd be boasting. Insanity, or just the cessation of life. I'll just check in on a couple of comments. The royal family need to protect themselves. I agree. I agree. And drug addicts are dangerous, and you can't trust them even when they're doing well. You're on because they come in and out of these states. They have to protect themselves. I completely agree with you, because it's all now. Part of the problem is there's a lot of people who really attack the whales, and it begins with Catherine. And then we go to William, then we go to Prince George, right? Because they're the future. And, Catherine is the future queen and queen consort, but she is a future queen. And she is raising the next king after her husband. So I'm not persuaded by a lot of this talk, but here's the weak area, and that's why people are losing their minds over it, because Charles doesn't want to see out his days with his son in exile, and he will do whatever he can to help his son land somewhere, somehow, safely. But he will be annexed, just like Andrew and just like Fergie. They are, there's an expression, persona non grata. It's golf, that's it. You see him at church from time to time. And so, why am I talking about this? Because Harry, they're worried. People are saying the royal family are worried he's going to do something. No, he's not. He's a coward. He's not going to do. If it happens, it won't be by his own. It will be by his own hand, but accidentally. He's too much of a coward. So I'm not buying that. Also, it is the ultimate form of emotional blackmail. We're dealing with a drug addict here. This is what the royal family are dealing with. Don't tell me they're not getting counsel from mental health professionals in this field. They have to be. Now, I'm parched, darlings. So, where am I going with this? I'm really big on cataloguing my thoughts when I really have to get something off my chest, I don't very often clip something from one of Francis's lives, but I have done two and it's because it's on this issue with Harry. We can't be listening to the media. We can't. And if we're just going to drop our bundle because we're hearing these reports and that report from this source and that source, where is our conviction? Where is our own belief system? I have a really, really solid conviction about the future of the monarchy. Now, when I was in the part of the crowds in the royal tour, you'd be surprised how many young adults, boys and girls, men and women, they're young adults, they were there. They were there of their own volition. They were not there with their parents. Crowds of them, groups of young men. And I took photos of them. So the future of the monarchy is sound. And look at how they iced out Edward and Wallace. They will handle this differently because this is the king's son, and we need to give him some grace with this. But I've said this a couple of times on Francis Live, I was not a fan of Charles. I thought he was a goofy prince. I'm not in sympathy with a variety of his issues. We know what they are. It's all out in the public domain. I think he's too closely aligned with certain elitist entities. You could read between the lines, okay? But we're not here to talk about that. But I have changed my mind. Now, I'm surprised I've changed my mind. People, when you're open and when you're open, you're open to changing your mind. But why have I changed my mind? Because I uphold the crown. Now, a lot of people in the recent royal tour in Australia, they're all holding their breath for William. But I'm going to say something here, and people have different opinions, but I was surprised how many were worried about William. They're worried about some of his modernisation. They don't know what that is going to look like. And I agree with them. And I was happy to see he modified his message with the homelessness, because in the beginning he wanted to eradicate homelessness. Well, Jesus said, well, you have the poor with you always. But then we need to minister to the poor. We need to get out there, and he's doing the right thing. But he's modified it to a message of minimising, the sleeping rough and so forth. So, and I'll be watching that. But Harry is, this is where I'm going, and I'm deeply troubled for Harry, because I feel, and it's something Eric Trump said, and I heard something similar by another reporter, that he doesn't know where he is. He has no clue where he is. He has no clue what he's doing. And I feel that part of the soft landing that's coming from the media, now he's come out before the general election next week, and he has said this. He said, I don't give a damn. Frankly, my darling, I don't give a damn. Who said that? Clark Gable in Gone with the Wind. We don't give a damn about you, Harry. And I think that the word has gone out because Harry's in trouble. And I don't necessarily mean legally, although he's dogged by legal issues because his visa issue has been opened up again. But I believe there has been an event that has the family worried. That's what I feel is going on. I feel the family are concerned about him. He was on his own. He went to Africa. He was in the UK. Then he just went dark. And that is worrying. When someone who is a drug user goes dark, everyone worries. I believe that's what's driving this. I don't believe the monarchy can afford to have someone as unstable, as unpredictable and untrustworthy as Harry close to the throne. William is, unfortunately, this is like good cop, bad cop. The king is going to somehow bring him in to the fold. He will somehow seek to help his son. But I don't believe this. I am not buying it. But I do believe he's in trouble. I believe something has happened. And I believe that's why people are landing. And that's why Eric Trump, you see, you have to read between the lines. These people, this is why he's come out. Because he said, we have nothing but respect for the royal family. So they're going to do everything they can to help the royal family if the royal family are in trouble with one of its own. And that's where I'm coming from. And I feel deeply saddened by this. I don't like Harry. He's untrustworthy. I don't know who said it, but someone said, when someone shows you who they are, believe them. Well, Harry has. Now, the media need to get over the cheeky chappy Harry. That Harry is gone. He's dead. I don't mean physically, but that Harry is gone. Stop it. Just stop it. We're not believing you. I am kidding you. I'm going to put a short up later. I couldn't believe what these royalists were saying. They were excusing that mock bow of Meghan Markle's when she did this ridiculous. They were excusing it. They were making excuses for it. And I couldn't believe it. So just stop it. We don't, and if a royal supporter is easily swayed by these nonsensical media reporters who just thrive on somehow undermining their paycheck, which is reporting on the royal family, well, I'm not buying it. I don't believe it. Look at who's saying it. And if someone says, oh, well, I'm out of here if they bring Harry back in, I'm not. If I could change my mind on King Charles, I'm not out of here. This guy is a drug addict. There's only 3 outcomes, and it's not back in the fold. It's not. Because you're dealing with a monarchy here that has slimmed down considerably due to the loss of our precious queen, the cancer diagnosis of Catherine and the king, and then Princess Anne. You know, she was in hospital for over a week. People are hanging out in Australia for the Wales, but we love the king, and the reason we do is because he came here when he was suffering from cancer. Now, a lot of people are mocking Camilla, saying she was laughing. I burst into tears when I saw her crying, because it was at the same time the king said, if I live, if I survive, I long to come back. And she burst into tears. This poor woman is looking at her husband and doing what he wants to do and make his mother proud, work up to the end of his days, however long that is. You can live a long time with cancer when you're elderly. And then when they took that photo in front of the Opera House with crowds around them, she's looking up at him adoringly as if to say, we did it. And I just feel deeply for the royal family, because there is deep suffering going on behind the scenes. And but William's no pushover, and unfortunately he's going to get a lot of flack from the media because he's not moving on this. William is as stubborn as his brother, but William's got a lot to lose. He has 2 invisible children in the line of succession, as well as his own. So he's not going to allow anything to jeopardize the future of the monarchy or his children. So that's my final words. So I'll read some comments. Fran says, Catherine, I believe, spoke about losing her son to drugs. Yes, yeah, I did. And I'm still not over it. I'm not. I'm still not. And he was the one most like me. He was charming, handsome, he was so good looking. He was, though, but his nature was the most like me. He was very tender-hearted, and he was he was beautiful. And Harry was. We loved him, you know, but he showed us who he was. And you never not believe when someone shows you who they are. Believe them. You know, don't suffer from the battered wife syndrome. Oh, honey, I'm so sorry I beat you up when I was drunk, you know. The next day it's full of remorse. It's not repentance. It's just remorse, you know. It's a battered wife syndrome if the royal family allow Harry to hold them hostage because, you know, he might do something foolish that jeopardizes his own future and well-being here on this earth. No, if he's using that, it's the worst kind of emotional blackmail, but he is at risk, and I believe this is what's happened. I believe there's been an event. And remember, and he wrote about it in his own book, when Prince Philip passed, 36 missed phone calls. What was wrong with him? 36 missed phone calls. So I believe that I believe he's okay. He's taken to safety. God help him. There are others who haven't got any of the resources available to him. So don't whine. Please don't. I hate complaining. I hate it in myself. It's unattractive, but you don't age well. Your personality becomes twisted. Francis says it all the time. He says it all the time. Part of the problem the Harkles have. Francis is here. Oh, I'm going to start reading comments in a minute because now I'm talking overtime. But he does. They're ungrateful. They are ungrateful. And who has a family like his to rescue him when his life's at risk? Because he puts his life at risk every day. He's a fool Francis, please let's hit the likes button. I know. Oh, he's my biggest cheerleader. I'll tell you how Francis and I came together. Um, He was absent for a little while. I had been before that as well because really needed to think my future online. What am I doing? Where am I going? Where is this going? But I noticed he was absent as well. And I left a little voicemail on his X because you can leave little. Oh, this too much trouble. I'll just leave. My kids call them podcasts. I say, darlings, I'm leaving them there for you to keep so that when I go, you'll have them as a memory. But I left a little message for him and I just said, oh, Francis, look, we've connected from time to time, but I just want to know I really miss your content. And he goes, Catherine. But I'll tell you what it was I loved about Francis. When I first got on TikTok, he followed me, and I can't follow too many people. It's too much. I can't. Because if I'm following, I'm paying you attention, right? I can't do that. So he followed me, I followed him back, and I was so thrilled because, he has a really big presence online. We know that, don't we, girls and boys? But it was the way he spoke about the Queen. He adored her. He spoke with the most amazing love and affection for this woman, and it reflected my heart because I loved the Queen. So that's how Francis and I came together. Then he said, let's do a live. The first one is so hilarious. I'm yelling at him, hi, Francis, I don't know. What do you think about this? What do you think about... It took us a while, And then I'd be talking over him, and it's because it's a lag. Anyway, what it's like online. And then one day, because then I got these noise bows, darlings, got these noise cancellation headphones because they look cool. They make me look younger. And I can't hear anything. It's very dangerous wearing them out walking. I've had to stop doing it because I've walked out into traffic. So I couldn't hear the kettle, and it had been boiling, and the apartment was full of steam. And I said, Francis, we've got steam coming in. It's in my phone. He said, don't worry, just keep going. So I look like I'm in a steam room. So it's taken us a while, but now we've got this fabulous energy relationship because both of us love the monarchy. We're not running scared at the first sign of trouble, or we don't necessarily agree with a certain strategy. We have to hang in there when it's tough, and it is really tough at the moment, I think, for the royal family with Catherine, because she's not out of the woods. She hasn't had her 3-month check yet. That's when they tell you whether you're cancer-free or not. The king, oh, he's so amazing. They look so frail, and dear Camilla was crying in Samoa. Don't be a curmudgeon. Stop it, you people out there. But royal watchers, I don't know. I don't know what's going on, but I'm not running. I'm not going anywhere. I believe in crown and country through the monarchy. Now, darlings, I'm going to follow Francis's lead and read some of the comments. Catherine, it's the best thing that's ever happened to my YouTube experience. Oh, trust me to go straight to a love post. Okay, I'll finish reading it. But same to my dear friends. She's so passionate about it. I am, because I was right in the mix of it. That whole Republican movement's dead here in Australia. You know what it was? It was just adolescents arcing up. Oh, we don't love our parents. It's teenagers running away from home. That's what they were. They won't agree with me. They'll think, yeah, but I'm a grandmother. I'm allowed to talk in these terms. Sorry, sweeties. Bye-bye, Republicans. I'm not listening to you. Rosie's Cottage. Yes, Francis, she's wonderful. But so are you. Oh, I know. Now, listen to saying, but so are you. Where's my comments gone? Oh, here. I agree with you, SBRN, and Charles is behind the scenes. I agree with you. I agree with it. I'm not disagreeing with it. what it's going to look like is what we're worried about. But I think he's too high risk. He is. Anyone here who's been, and we all have been affected by drugs through a loved one, through a friend, through a family member. We've all been affected by it, and it's devastating. It's reshaped my family. I've got four sons. The two eldest ones are the ones that are still alive, but there was the second youngest that died of drugs. But anyone who's, you just know, you can't trust it. And I think Charles, if he wasn't the king, he would just keep taking him back, but he can't. And especially because you've got Prince William, and Prince William's carrying a heavy load. Charles is not doing all of this on his own. He's got Prince William there. Prince William is steering this ship. And I think if Charles were just an ordinary dad, he'd be in trouble, because he'd be bringing this drug addicted family member back in all the time, and he'd be listening to his brothers and sisters and his wife and the kids saying, no, no, no. And he would be. And I said no in the end. I said, I will not speak to you. And he was in prison. I said, I cannot, because I was breaking down. I said, I cannot have you back in my life until you are in rehab. And 12 months later, he'd gone. So I think that would be Charles, but he's the king. And he's got the public. The public will not accept Harry back. They will not, until Francis says it, until he apologises. And we know that. But I think we have to hold fast. We can't lose ourselves with the insanity of the media. Bring our cheeky chappy back. No, they are trying to create a wedge issue with William. They're trying to cast him as a bad guy, because, we want, it's like having divorced parents. The kids want to be with the parents who don't say no. You may disagree with me, but I feel King Charles is where... No, I don't disagree with you. I don't. I actually agree with you. But I'm not persuaded it's going to work. I think that's the problem, because Harry can't help himself. He can't. He's so damaged. The problem is he was doing drugs in his teens, and all his frontal lobes are damaged. And smoking pot, heavy pot smokers, it creates male infertility. And it's because it's actually more dangerous than people realise, unless it's under medical supervision, right? And it gets absorbed into all the fat cells of the body, and men are particularly at risk because the testicles, I know, now we're getting really saucy here, but the testicles is just all fat. It's just all fat. So the dope, it's even worse if it's really bad dope. He'd be having high-end stuff, but still, he's living on it, He'd be getting stoned the minute he wakes up, lunch and tea. That's his diet. But it's very damaging. And I know someone who used to be a heavy smoker, and he's not on drugs or anything now. I know this person personally, and he went into rehab. He did detox. He went into rehab, and 10 years later, he was just on this big health kick, and he went to a health farm, just fasting, and then starting to just ingest green juices, and he couldn't believe how much agony he was in, and it was still the toxins from the marijuana 10 years later after he'd been straight. So I don't disagree with you at all, Aspie, but I think they're walking a very delicate balance. And I'm not sympathetic to Harry. My sympathy is with the family, but I feel deep sympathy for William, because he's going to be the bad guy. He is. It's like, And the media are just going, I don't handle the comments as well as, I don't handle the comments as well as, but I'll get used to it. That was a beautiful Maya Angelou, Catherine. I'd so love that pressure. I do too. I do too. So she said it, did she? That if someone shows you who they are, believe it. And I think everyone attributes it to the famous female interviewer that interviewed the Sussexes. I think a lot of people attribute, that's why but I thought, no, she'd never come up with anything that clever. She's cunning, but she's not that smart. Hi, Diane. Thank you for the support, dear friends. Oh, Francis, you've been here a while. Let the king reign. When Prince William becomes king, we will survive. That's what I think too. I think we need to bear with this. The king is very ill. He was shaky coming down, both of them. And the one he was more concerned about Camilla. He was like that at the church as well. He kept going back to her. He was more concerned about Camilla. So they're both not well. So we just have to hold, strong. And, I feel deeply moved by their plight. That's an old-fashioned word. But I do. I feel deeply moved by it because it's such a human story. But I've covered Harry. I think he's in trouble. Like, I think something has happened. That's why everyone's going soft on him. I think also they want to give him an escape hatch, but it doesn't mean they're going to get their cheeky chappy Harry back. It's not going to happen. He's dead. And I don't mean Harry's dead, but that guy's gone. And I know what I'm talking about because my son started drugs in his teens and he died in his 30s. I do believe drug rehab is necessary if there's going to be any future for him at all, even as an outlier, even if he was to live as an outlier like Andrew. He needs to apologise. I don't think that any of the royal courts, apart from maybe the father, are in favour of Harry returning. No one trusts him. I believe that we need to focus on Catherine, William and Prince George. Just the media, honestly, they really are grubby. I've discovered what everyone says about the British media during the royal tour. I thought, shut up. You're not listening to the Australian public. Put me on TV, I'll put them straight. I support the monarchy and I mean upholding the crown. So if I have to change my mind about certain things, I will do that. And there's a lot to be said for people, particularly when you get older, who change their mind. And it's because underneath it, there's a reason why you do it, and you're doing it to support a bigger issue. So that's it, babies. That's boys and girls. Thank you so much for tuning in. I knew I wasn't going to do it tonight. That's why I did it this morning, Francis. I knew because I was getting cold feet. So bye-bye, sweetie darlings. I'll say cheerio. Thank you, Francis. You're such a darling. I love Francis. Rosie's Cottage. Catherine, I'm so sorry for your loss. I believe in a higher place, yeah. I do too. Harry needs to accept the consequence. I agree with Paul. Absolutely. Sam, I don't like using my phone, Francis. I can't type so fast. Yeah, I do too. My kids call me the podcast queen because I leave them all of these long messages. I really do ramble. I'm doing it now. Please come back tonight, Chantel. I tell you, can I just show you a product placement? My son made this for me when the Queen was still alive, and I'm going to have some made, and I'm going to send some, like as a gift for Christmas, these, and then I'm going to have some of these made as well. This is not my image. My sister brought this back from the UK recently, but I'm going to make some small ones, maybe with some corgis, and I've got a Gmail, but I'm going to put up a product line on a website. But I actually want to send one of my bags to you, and I'm going to put in a royal iota. I'm going to hand sew it on the inside for these beautiful followers that from Francis Page Media. See what Francis does? He leaves everywhere he goes. He leaves all these good vibrations. Just that's why we love him. So a royal iota at Gmail if you want to send me a dress, but these are only for the regulars like Chantal, Stedman, Paul. You know who you are. You know who you are. I know who you are. A royal iota or a roy leota at gmail.com, and I'll send you one for Christmas. I really do want to thank you for being so wonderful. But I don't know if I can. I did it. I did it because I knew I was going to get cold feet tonight. All right. Cheers, sweetie darlings. Mwah, mwah. Love yous, love yous, love yous.